Hi there, it's Tanga, and I'm into week 2 of reviewing this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So, last week I spoke about self-awareness, and this whole exercise and what we go through in this book really taps into this whole space of being self-aware and being able to grow into the person that you want to become just by reviewing your behaviors and your thoughts and deciding, is it in alignment with where I want to get to? So the very first habit that is covered in here is number 1, be proactive. Now, proactivity, of course, is a word that's been used and thrown around a lot. And I know in my resumes, I like to say, I'm a very proactive person. And like, what does that actually mean? And I didn't quite understand that until I went through the detail in this reading. It's quite a good coverage as to why that is such a key habit for people that want to grow. Being proactive is taking initiative. And as human beings, we are responsible for our own lives. And that's what being proactive is. Our behavior is a product of our decisions and not our conditions. So probably the best way to get your head around this is to compare it to being reactive. If we were presented with some sort of stimulus, let's talk about the weather. The weather's really bad. A reactive person would be, oh my God, it's a really bad storm coming. It's going to really be a crap day today. And, and you can really almost hear that heaviness in them almost drop because they've been impacted by their environment. A proactive person may not even necessarily notice bad weather other than, okay, I better make sure that I drive the car in a safe manner. And they're still driven by their values. Proactive people are only driven by their values. Now, it's easy to sit down and think, okay, well, I'm proactive because that's actually what I would like to be. So some of the language that you use, the internal language that you use, and even the spoken language that you use can give you an indicator as to where you're sitting in. So you may automatically lean towards being a proactive person and taking action. But you may not necessarily be aware that there are circumstances where you will sit in a reactive mode. And to be self-aware allows you to almost sit from the corner of a room and look down on what your behavior is. And you can ask yourself, hold on, am I reacting to the situation? Just that awareness will allow you to make changes so that you are responding in a way that you feel more aligned with. So the types of language, and I will read this bit because I think, it's quite powerful how you can identify whether you're sitting in a reactive space or a proactive space. So our language, for example, is a very real indicator of the degree to which we see ourselves as proactive people. Example, the language around reactive people absolves them from responsibility. So by blaming other things, then I don't have to take responsibility for it. So language that's me, that's just the way I am. Which means I am already determined. There's nothing I can do about it. How many of us have actually said that in different, that's just me. Oh, he makes me so mad is an indicator that I'm not responsible. It's him. My emotional life is governed by something outside of my control. Okay, another one is, I can't do that. I just don't have the time. Now, this is so relevant to us stepping into entrepreneurship, especially when we're straddling a job of some sort, a paid job to keep our basic needs met, as well as building our business on the side. I just don't have the time. And that is really pointed to something outside me, which is limited time, is controlling me. Right? How many of us say that? Okay, this one, if only my wife were more patient, which is again, someone else's behavior is limiting my effectiveness. So these are reactive language that we're using. And I have to do it, which is circumstances or other people are forcing me to do what I do. I'm not free to choose my own actions. Again, these are very reactive thoughts and language that we could be using. And now that you're aware of that, you might even catch yourself saying, hold on, what does that actually mean? So, how can you turn these things into more proactive language? These are simple action steps that you can take every day. You can start to transform the person that you are just by noticing these things. So, reactive language, there's nothing I can do. Change that into, hold on, let's look at our alternatives. What are our options? Okay, and the next statement, that's just the way I am. Okay, proactively I could be thinking, okay, I can choose a different approach. He makes me so mad. Proactive, I control my own feelings. I can choose whether I'm going to be mad at it or not. Reactive again, they won't allow that. And proactively you can change that to, I can create an effective presentation. So I can choose to put that together. I have to do that. Can be, I'll choose an appropriate response. So rather than being forced to, I have to do that particular thing, you can choose what you want to respond, how you want to respond. Change the language from I can't to I choose. Just notice what your body is doing when you say the words I can't. You know, you tense up. I can feel myself going back. Whereas when I'm saying I choose, I'm going forward, I'm being receptive, I'm stepping into it. I must is being forced to do that. I must do this. I'm putting this expectation on myself. Change that to, I prefer to do it this way. I prefer this. So it's not so forceful. If only, oh gosh, I've heard that a lot. Oh, if only I could be, I will. I will. So those are just an example of how you can apply this first habit and really step into it by changing the language that goes on in here. And often that comes out of here without you even realizing it. So over the next maybe a few days, just check in on yourself. Be that, that spirit that's hovering around you and checking in on the language that's going on. And just by those subtle changes, you can really start to apply these principles and be a lot more proactive towards the way that you look at things. Right, I hope that makes sense. That's the first habit, and I'm looking forward to sharing the second habit next week. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.